Welcome to Our Town, a 30-minute podcast brought to you by Best Bark Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks.
I am delighted to be here today with the patriarch of the Cibel family, Tony Cibel, Washington's leading restaurateur, the owner of one of the most fabulous restaurants in the city, and a very dear friend for many years. And Tony, of all these years I've known you, I never knew how you got to be from a liquor store, Barrel House Liquors, to owning a restaurant. Now you got a chain of restaurants.
Well, yeah, that's true. I was originally when I first got married, I was in the gas station business. I had a gas station in Tacoma Park, Maryland, for 3 years. The first 2 years were wonderful. I had a terrific mechanic, and it worked out beautifully. And then after 2 years, he moved to Florida. And for a whole year, I went through about 10 mechanics. They were drunks. They wouldn't show up, so I couldn't make any money. I sold the gas station and then went to work for a relative who had a chain of children's dancing studios and nursery schools, the Art Linkletter Studios.
Wow.
2 of which we had in the district, one at 14th and Kennedy and one on South Dakota Avenue. So I was there with Nick for about 6 years.
That's Nick Chaconis.
Nick Kokinis.
Kokinis.
Nick Kokinis, a very prominent family here in the Greek community here in Washington. And I learned a lot from Nick. I learned more from him about running a business than I would have at Wharton School, to be honest with you. He was a smart guy. And so then we had a little parting of the ways over money, which, of course, happens with everybody.
Surprise, surprise.
And a friend of mine backed me in the liquor store, Barrel House Liquors, at 14th and Rhode Island, a year after the riots. And everybody told me I was crazy and all that sort of thing. But anyhow, it worked out okay. It was a tough neighborhood at the time, nothing like it is now. 14th Street is real hot now.
Boom.
But back in 1970, it was a battleground. And but
everything you're saying is true, Tony.
Yeah.
That's why being part of our town for all these years, you know the good, the bad, and the ugly is what we've been through.
The town has sure changed. And at that time, I became very friendly with Marion Barry. He was good friends with Jerry Lustine Realty, which was right next door to the Barrel House. And that's the time Marion he hadn't been elected yet.
He was
on the
Pride.
council. He was on, Pride Incorporated.
Right.
Was him. And then, of course, he went on to eventually become mayor, and he was very helpful for business people in the district.
Absolutely.
He may have had a few ups and downs there, but he was very good as far as business was concerned for the District of Columbia. But then a friend of mine, Jerry Lustine, as a matter of fact, had an opening at a building at 14th and Rhode Island Northeast. We were at Northwest, and he said, Tony,
that ain't no picnic either.
Oh, no, that was a war zone. But we opened a carry-out and a little restaurant, carry-out beer and wine, called Soul Palace, and it was a huge success. And I found out then you made more money selling liquor or beer by the glass than you did by the bottle or the case. So I said, this is for me. And we operated that we had a wonderful African-American fellow that managed it. Unfortunately, he got ill and passed away. But anyhow, that was a lot of fun. And then we, Blackie Auger and Richie Cohen and Joe Rinaldi and I bought the Tenley Mini Market on Wisconsin Avenue, right near Tenley Circle.
Another landmark place, I may add.
That's right. And we bought it with the idea of taking over the firehouse next door. We tried to make a deal with the city to buy them another spot to relocate it, but it didn't work out.
And the firehouse is still there.
The firehouse is still there, so is the Tenley Mini Market.
I know, and I think they spent a lot of money redecorating the firehouse.
Oh, they did a lot to it, and they have liquor and wine. And I think they sell more lotto tickets than any place in the city.
I can believe it.
They line up over there. But anyhow,
drive-through tickets.
Almost. Then we had a chance to buy the Dancing Crab, which, of course, is a famous restaurant from Fred Norris, who originally started it. He also started the Zephyr and
Rabbit's Foot,
and the Dancing Crab. So he had been there 10 years. So we bought it, Joe and I, and it was great. It was fabulous. The
rest is history.
All the Redskins hung out there, all the sporting people, show
Channel
business
9
people.
Obviously had a lot of Redskins programming and had guests, and invariably after the show they'd all go to the Crab. It was the thing to do Monday night.
All come to the Crab, yeah,
Correct?
every Monday night, and a lot of them during the week too. This is before they moved to Virginia.
Oh, absolutely. They were Washington guys.
And Sonny Jurgensen and Glenn Brenner frequented the place a lot, and they said, we're going over to the Malt Shop.
Yeah, they say that on the air.
On the air, that's how we named the upstairs part of the Crab, the Malt Shop. And it took off. It was just, along with the downstairs business, which was fabulous, the Malt Shop was like having another restaurant.
That's right. Two places, different kind of
we
people came, right?
We opened at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and from 4 o'clock to 2 in the morning, it was pretty well packed.
Absolutely.
And you'd see congressmen and sports people and a good cross-section of Washingtonians. It was terrific. It really was.
I used to see the, what was the guy that was head of the Peace Corps? Sergeant Shriver would sit at the bar there and watch TV because he didn't have the cable at home. That's true about Sergeant Shriver.
I know that. But I'll tell you what else is true about him. He was cheap as hell. I mean, he said, hey, Tony, can I get, a baker's dozen of crabs and everything? Sergeant, he was.
What was the senator? Harry Byrd Jr.
Byrd used to come in there all the time.
He'd sit there all the time for hours and watch TV.
Everybody from Channel 9 would hang out there.
All those things.
And what's his name? The little guy that went on to New York. Sports guy.
Warner Wolf.
He used to sit out front and hold a piece of metal under there and try to get a suntan for TV.
Warner, WW. And you got the people gypped the cable in there for you, right?
We had all the sporting events.
I lied.
We did that.
Big fights?
Everything. We had them all. We had a special feed from one of the channels, which will be unnamed.
That's right, but it was a fact of life.
Yeah, but it was just a great place. I'll tell you, we had it for 30 years. It was. I had more fun there and met more people than any place, really. Movie people would come there, all the athletes.
All celebrity, like you say. And then that came to not a halt, but it came to a change in your life. And we're going to get into that and get where did you go when you left the Crab? And that's the story, and we'll be right back with that story.
Are you retired or soon will be? Is your will up to date? Don't want to leave a mess for your family to clean up. I'm attorney Mike Collins, the guy who sends you those invitations to my estate planning seminar. I'll teach you how to save taxes, avoid probate, protect your heirs from lawsuits, bankruptcy, even the divorce court. Keep your money in your family with our innovative Reservoir Trust. Watch the mail for your invitation. Tuition's free when you register online at MikeCollins.com. That's MikeCollins.com.
You're listening to Our Town with Antiochus Allison. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
We are listening to Our Town. This is Antiochus Allison, and this podcast is brought to you by Best Bark Communications. We've had a delightful conversation with Tony Cibel, and we're going to continue that because we've taken Tony up through his years at the Dancing Crab and so many restaurants to one of Washington's outstanding places. And how did that come about, Tony?
Well, we had the Crab, and at this time, my nephew, Greg Caston, who's a wonderful, wonderful person, he was an accountant, and he was working at an accounting firm to get his CPA certification, which took 3 years. So he worked for me. He worked over at the Crab at night. He was single, a young guy just out of college, and he was 10-bar wait, that sort of thing, a part-time job. And our general manager, was leaving to open his own restaurant, which was great. I mean, we encourage people get ahead, you know.
Cool.
So Greg said to me, my nephew said, Uncle Tony, I'd like to have that job. I was shocked. I said,
I
thought you were going to be an accountant. He said, no, I sit in that room and look, I can't do it anymore. I'd like to do this. Boom. Right away, he took over the crab and did a wonderful job.
That might have been a godsend for the future, too.
It certainly was. It was. And then Herb Miller, who had built Washington Harbor and Georgetown Square and all that sort of thing.
A great guy.
Terrific guy. A visionary. I mean, the guy's way ahead of his time, believe me.
So true.
And a wonderful guy. So he said, we want to put a dancing crab at Washington Harbor, which was brand new at the time. We went down and looked at it, and I said, we can't put a crab house in here because all these fancy apartments and stuff, the smell would drive people out of here. So I said, but how about a great seafood restaurant? And that's how Tony and Joe started, with myself and Joe Rinaldi. It was a limited partnership. We raised the money to build the restaurant. And
how many partners did you originally have in the first group?
25. And over the next few years, Greg ran that restaurant, and we started a company called Pro Fish, which Greg runs and started with.
But you're involved too with Pro Fish, aren't you?
Sure, yeah. The whole family's involved.
Well, that's the amazing thing about you and about the Dancing Crab and also about Tony and Joe. It's a family enterprise.
That's right.
Your boys are very important to that restaurant.
All family. And believe me, the majority of people that work with us are like family to us.
Absolutely. Freddie. He's
been there 29 years. We opened the Tony and Joe's 29 years ago.
It'll be 30 years next year.
Yeah, it'll be 30 years in 2017. I'll be 80, and Tony and Joe's will be 30. That adds up to 110. I'm going to have a hell of a party.
Well, you have a hell of a party every year.
Yeah, we have the party of the year. But anyhow, then...
Both of your boys, Nick at Nick's Riverside Grill, and Dean. And I remember Dean was quite a baseball prospect, was he not?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was terrific.
He could have gone up. In fact, they paid for his way to school.
That's correct. Then his arm fell off, after pitching all those years. So what happened was we had a chance to open another restaurant at the harbor right across from Tony and Joe's. We called it the Pasta Place. It was obviously Italian. And Nick had just gotten out of college, so he came down. When he got out of college, he ran the crab after Greg came down.
Right, I remember that.
Then we had a chance to get this other restaurant at the harbor, which we did, and Nick came down to run that, which started out as the Pasta Place. It's now Nick's Riverside Grill. And my youngest son, Dean, was just getting out of college, so he came and ran the Dancing Crab. So all of my whole family started at the Crab. I mean, and a lot of people...
And they started as kids as the Crab.
That's right. Dean was a little kid as a busboy. So, and we had a lot of wonderful people that work for us. A lot of my friends' kids would work in the summer as hostess.
Oh, my God.
And those.
My boy.
Amazing.
I know it very well.
A lot of wonderful
It was like a
kids.
job fair.
It really was.
Between the Crab and Tony and Joe.
And we still do that downtown at the two restaurants downtown. We have a lot of my kids' friends now, their kids work the third generation,
And then for a while you had a Cuban restaurant, did you not?
Yeah, we had the Cabanas,
right,
which was right there at the harbor. And then, of course, everybody probably remembers the flood.
Now, that's what I'm going to ask you about. That's a disaster that we've got to talk about.
It was April 18th or 19th of 2011, and the floodgates at Washington Harbor weren't put up in time.
Well, that's a special thing. That harbor has a special
has floodgates all the way around it to keep the water out. That's right.
They lift them up.
Yep, they lifted up by crane. Chuck Sloan, United Rigging, did that for years.
Great guy.
Fabulous guy. Anyhow, we got flooded. When I say flooded...
Didn't they lower the gates by mistake?
They didn't put them all the way up.
Is that what happened?
Somebody
goofed.
You're correct. So consequently, the restaurants were literally underwater. I had a car downstairs in the garage that was underwater for 3 weeks. They couldn't get
down there.
No.
Well, everybody underneath the harbor was underwater, correct?
That's correct. Especially the second tier down
Right.
in the garage.
Took a long time to get that water out. Did they pump it out?
Oh yeah, it was
It's a mess.
it was a catastrophe. I mean, remember, there's about 400 lawyers in that building upstairs in their offices. They all had to close. They had to move out of there. Anyhow, it took. We were lucky because we put an outside grill. It happened in the
I remember
summer.
that.
We had an outside grill. We were able to keep 50 people working
And that was
out of
like-
200. That was a miracle. Just to do
you
that.
could keep anybody. You paid for them out of your own pocket.
That's correct. Anyhow, we made enough to keep 50 people employed, and it was wonderful, but it was only outside seating. So then 2 years later, we reopened 2 brand new, beautiful restaurants, just fabulous.
It is a fabulous thing.
Yeah.
You turned a disaster into a
Well,
major effort.
we did a great business prior to the flood also,
Yeah, I know that.
But we got 2 brand new restaurants, but we were closed
A lot
for
of heartache.
2 years. It was tough. A tough 2 years.
People don't realize how much mud there was in that restaurant. I came down and looked at it.
Oh.
I said, they'll never get open again.
Yeah, it was really awful. But anyhow, we got through that, and the reason for our success is not only family, but everybody that works with us. They're like family to us.
They've been there for years. You can tell.
Years. I got at least 20 people that have been there over 20 years, and that's a long time. 30 years is a long time for a restaurant, too.
You better believe it in this town. Tony, I want to surprise you with these names. No surprises. You'll know them all. Just to get you to talk about it, because you had famous people at the Crab and Tony and Joe's. We talked about some of them. Politicians, lawyers, athletes, actors.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a potpourri of people in both restaurants.
I should have written a list of them, but I can't remember.
No, I'll help prod you. I'll give you a couple of names. I'll even throw you a
Clint
couple
Eastwood
of curves.
used to come there when he was making a movie. He used to come to the bar every day, almost every day, and just have 1 or 2 beers, and didn't want anybody to bother him. The worst guy was that guy, Shatner.
Shatner?
William Shatner.
Yeah, William Shatner.
What a son of a bitch he was. He didn't want anybody. I don't want anybody to talk to me. Blah blah blah. And the other guy, Jackie Mason, when he had that one-man show, he was there every day.
The best.
All they want to do is look at the girls,
Yeah, man.
which is an abundance of down at the harbor.
Oh, my God. We're going to take another break and be back to our town. And I want to give you some names and get some action from Tony Cibel.
Okay.
Antiochus Allison. We'll be right back.
Hi, Tony Cibel here to tell everybody about our wonderful restaurants at Washington Harbor. Tony and Joe's, the best seafood in the city. Nick's Riverside Grill, wonderful chops and steaks. Wonderful views of the Kennedy Center, Roosevelt Island, the Roslyn skyline. Spectacular. 2 bars outside right on the water. Fabulous food. For dinner reservations, call 202-944-4545. It's really a great experience. We'll see you down at Tony and Joe's or Nick's Riverside Grill.
You're listening to Our Town with Antiochus Allison.
Now we're back with Tony Cibel talking about the most famous restaurant in Washington for my money. And it was my money at one time. I was one of the selected 25 as an investor, and business got so good, Tony threw us all out and bought us out. But Tony, let me get you with a couple of names that I know you remember, and you mentioned one of them about the Crab, and that's Marion Barry.
Marion Barry was a dear friend of mine, and he did a lot for this city. He really, for business people, and he was a wonderful guy. I mean, look, everybody has a few bumps along the...
Yeah, well, he was a night owl, but he admitted it.
Yeah,
he loved it. He prowled the city at night.
He got reelected from the Slammer.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You'd think he was from Boston.
Yeah, Mayor Curley, to remind me of.
And now you got Vince Gray, who's out of office, but he could be back as mayor. What do you think of that?
Well, he'll be back. He's back on the council in January. Right. Vince was another wonderful mayor, did a lot for business. The 4 years he was in office, D.C. boomed. The building was back up. I know there are a lot of ups and downs in real estate and building, but while he was there, it really rolled. Well, so we're delighted to have him back on the council because He's a capitalist. We have too many socialists.
Mayor Fenty was trying to ruin the city with all these new regulations and rules he put in.
Unbelievable. It's so tough to be in business in D.C. now that
I'm glad you talk about that, Tony. It makes a difference.
A lot of people are afraid to open here. And the other thing is, there's very few independent family businesses. They're mostly
unheard of. That's why I keep referring
There's
to
a lot of little restaurants here and there, but most of the larger restaurants are chains.
Absolutely.
And, you know...
they're not local. They don't know the local
We're so
scene.
happy at Tony Joe's. We have the finest chef in the city, in my opinion, David Stein. He is...
Oh, I know David. Yeah, he's very good.
He's terrific. And he oversees all of our locations, one of which is brand new. We just opened, Ivy City Smokehouse.
Oh, I know it well. But you also were in Annapolis for a while, weren't you?
Yes. We...
But that's not Washington. That's not our town.
Yeah, that was Annapolis, a different city altogether.
Ivy City is our town, Tony.
Ivy City is right on New York Avenue and Fenwick Street.
Well, here's a name. It's not out of your past, but certainly was out of the past of the restaurant. Suzanne Martin Cook.
Wow.
Is that a good name for you?
Well, her husband...
yes. Dear Tony.
Yeah, called me up. She was in the restaurant one night with her little baby in the stroller.
We're talking about Mrs. Jack Kent Cook.
Yes, Jack Kent Cook's wife. Second one or third, I don't know, one of them. And she was a little vivacious and wild and so forth. And they were going through a terrible divorce thing. It was in the papers.
She wouldn't give him. He wouldn't give her any money. He said, "It's not my baby," and the baby looked just like him, didn't it?
The baby's name is Jacqueline Kent Cook. That's how he named. That's how she named him.
What a wonderful thing!
And but anyhow, she was in there one night, raising hell, blabbing about him and. Maurice Siegel,
the great writer,
one of the funniest guys that ever lived, that worked for the Washington Star,
correct,
happened to be there and heard her blabbing off. So he called Jack Cook and said, "Look, you ought to talk to this guy, Tony Cibel." And so I'm in the Crab early in the morning doing the checkout, and Nick, my son Nick, is there with me. I'm teaching him. He's getting ready to take over run the restaurant. I'm teaching, and the phone rings. It's 7:30. Hello, Tony Cibel. Yeah, Jack Kent Cook. He says. I said, "Oh, for goodness sake, Mr. Cook, nice to talk to you." I said, "Gee whiz, we had just gone to the Super Bowl. This was in 1988. We'd gone to San Diego.
Won the Super Bowl.
So yeah, they won it." And he says, "Oh, you should have called me." I said, "I didn't know you." "What do you mean I should have called you?" I mean, it was wild. So
but that's him, right?
Yeah. So then he started asking me about Suzanne the night before, and she was a big customer. I'll say this. And so I said, "Mr. Cook, I don't know." He said, "I understand." She says, "I don't want to have to subpoena you." I said, "Well, you and if you're not, but I didn't hear any of that conversation that she may have had. Maybe some of the other people did, but ask Mo Siegel. I mean,
that's a great story, Tony.
I know. So anyhow, I thought he was going to subpoena me. He said, "Well, thanks for nothing." Boom, hung up. And the next day, the thing broke in the Washingtonian magazine or something. So it didn't.
They're getting a divorce.
He didn't need me anymore. So that was the last time I heard from him.
That was Mr. Cook, but that's still a great story. That he could get up and get you early in the morning, didn't he? He knew what to do.
7:30. I couldn't believe it.
Well, Tony, of all the things that you've done, overcoming that flood may be the cap of your career.
Well,
to put that restaurant
and
back.
Without my family, I'm telling you, my boys and Greg Caston is a genius.
He's the best.
He really is a genius, and he has built up these Pro Fish from one truck to today. We have 26 trucks.
And they're prowling the area.
And we go from New Jersey to North Carolina. And
maybe that experience he had as a CPA, that training, got him ready to take over the business.
He's so good with numbers.
I know, he's a wonderful guy.
And my boy Nick, I love Nick.
He's got his own restaurant now.
He looks like a movie star. And
he is a movie star.
When I was single, I used to use him for bait. the girls all love Nick. I mean, it's unbelievable.
He's a sweet guy.
He's the best, and he has. He's single now.
They got great children.
He's got terrific 3 kids, 2 girls. One's going to be a junior at the University of North Carolina.
I hope they all come into your business.
Well, they already are working there as hostesses.
Well, they're learning.
2 girls.
Right.
He's got another girl that goes to University of Colorado. She'll be a sophomore this year. A son who's a Cal, who's 16 years old, all-star football and lacrosse player at Whitman High School in Bethesda. Wonderful kid. And then Dean, who's just the opposite from Nick. They're both handsome boys, but Dean is really down to earth.
Absolutely.
Married.
He's a great guy.
Got 2 children, both in parochial school, and he's just a wonderful guy. But Nick is the front of the house guy. People love him.
He loves it.
Yeah,
he loves it.
He's
well,
got
Tony,
a lot of them.
the family-owned business, I think, is very important, and you've made it important, and you're lucky to have the family working for you like
no
this.
No question, because
They
I'm
made
over
your
the hill
life.
now. I'm done. I'll
You're
be
an exhausted rooster.
79.
But
years
you'll
old.
never calm down. You have no intention to, and Tony and Joe's will last a long. If that flood proved, then nothing can put you out of business.
Well, we got 20 more years on the lease, so I won't be around. I mean, maybe my grandchildren when they want to renew or whatever.
Well, you've been listening to Our Town with Tony Cibel, the man who has a family business and makes it work. And, if you want to do something good for yourself, go to Tony and Joe's. And mention my name, Mo Siegel.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, call us at Best Bar Communications, our website. But, Tony, thank you very much. You're a good man.
My pleasure.
Love your business. And look forward to seeing you
Thank
in
you
your
so
place.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Tony.
you.
You've been listening to Our Town Season 1 with your host, Antiochus Allison. New Our Town podcast episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. We welcome your comments and suggestions on how you like the show or who you'd like to hear from next. Catch us on Facebook at Our Town DC or visit our website at OurTownDC.com. Our special thanks to WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. for hosting our podcasts.